Alright, this video is going to cover basic design camera movements and object placing. So first of all, to get rid of the debug text on the left side of the screen, just press escape twice. Now, to move the design camera around, you just use the arrow keys, and then if you want to change the view direction, you hold down the right mouse button and move the mouse around. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to control the design camera movement speed, notice up here at the top, cam speed is at 1. If I press plus and minus, I can control that speed. I'll go to 2 or 3 for a second, and I move quite a bit faster. And go back down to say 0.2, move real slow. You'll definitely want to be able to move real slow if you're designing the interior of a house or something like that. It helps a lot to go a lot slower. Then if you want to, you can also do the shift key is an acceleration key. So you hit that and you can accelerate quickly to a new spot, let go, design something over here. In order to move the design camera up and down, hold down the control key and use the forward and back arrows. Placing objects is very easy. Press F1 to bring up the design menu. On the left side you have your object categories. On the right side you have the objects. So for example, I will place let's go with a container, barrel, put it here. I can place objects on top of each other, and I can also spin the object with the right mouse, with the middle mouse button. I'll get into that more in a second. If you want to select an object, you have to change over from Place Geo to Select Move. Then you can grab the object with the mouse, move it around, grab this, move it around. Now this barrel is on top of that barrel. If you grab the bottom barrel, you'll move them both. If you need to delete them, just press the delete key. Notice the top barrel deleted also. That comes in handy if you have a table that's filled with objects and you need to delete the table. You don't want all the objects sitting there floating in the air because the table got deleted. For object moving, first we'll place a barrel in the scene here. Switch over to Select Move. Hold left mouse button to move the object around. It drags the object around. Don't watch the mouse pointer at this point, just watch the object because you're just dragging it. Then use middle mouse button, hold that down to move an object up or down. If you hold down Shift while moving, the object moves really slow, in case you need to fine adjust where the object is. Same thing with up and down. Once an object is placed, you can spin it, or placed or selected, you can spin it with the middle mouse button, or Q and W will spin it. Q and W go a lot slower, so if you need it's more fine-tuning. E and R are the secondary data value that you can apply to any object. So in this case, the barrel will tilt. Some objects tilt, some will scale, some you can lengthen, and some you can fatten. I'll give you examples of that right now. Obviously you've seen the barrel tilt. Now let's go to trees, for example. Trees, tree 4, put that in here. A tree scales, and this is a fully scaled object, so it scales on the X, Y, and Z. And then you can select Move, so you don't place another tree, and just click away so you can see that it's actually green, because while it's selected, of course, it's red. You drag around the tree the same way, spin it the same way. E and R scale the object. Now let's take a look at a lengthening and a fattening object, which are very useful items. Walls are where they come in handy. Let's put in let's try wall A. Okay, so this is a lengthening object. You can see it, E and R will lengthen it off of the left side here. It also tilts on that, or spins on that side. Now this comes in really handy when you're designing walls like this, for example. Oops, don't want to place that wall. I left it on Place Geo. Select Move over here, so you can get these to line up exactly. So here, I actually have a small gap here. That's an error. I'll lengthen the object like that. Now you notice there's a Z fight there. You don't want that. So you hold down E and R will lengthen it, and it can be hard to get to line up perfectly. So you hold down Shift. E and R will do one at a time. So get it one spot into the next geo, so that you'll still get a Z fight. And it's easy to see when it's red, and this one isn't red. But if you click off of it, it's pretty much invisible because the colors are very similar. So the lengthening object is very easy to use in terms of walls, so that you can get these walls to connect up. Otherwise, you'd have to try and get them to exactly match, and that is annoying. I did that with the phone version, and I'm glad I added this feature into this new one. Then there's a fattening object. Now these pillars are typically fattening objects, meaning, if I select it, it gets fatter but not taller. You don't really want it to get taller, because then you'd have pillars that you couldn't make real thick like this. They get super tall at the same time. So that's an example of a fattening object. I put these objects in with basically their type, in other words, whether or not they're tilting, scaling, lengthening, or fattening. I put in whatever is most likely to be needed. Some pillars are actually in as lengthening objects as well. So if I grab a pillar, for example, pull this out here, I use the greater than or less than keys to go between objects within the same category. So this is all the different pillars. Whoops. Here's an example of a lengthening object, which is lengthened too much. Like this archway, you would not want to have lengthened that much. It looks ridiculous. So that's probably all the more you'd want to lengthen it, although the lengthen feature can go quite a ways. Now the reason that we have pillars in here that also have a something like this. Now this is a dungeon entrance. This actually is the same category of item, because I recently added the Molten Chasm items into here. And so this Molten Chasm has its own category. Where is it? It's right here. So all the stuff I got from the Molten Chasm model pack are in this same one, because their color scheme is the same, and it's most likely you're going to want to use them together anyway. Now I'm going to reload the map here. If you make some changes, you're goofing around and you want to reload it, just reload that. Puts the pillar back. Actually put my mistake back in here, so I'm actually going to save this. This should be touching that wall. So I'm going to select Move here, hold down Shift, go lengthen it by 1, and then save the map. So that should be saved. Alright. Now, I want to demonstrate the set key to set an object to another object. Now, in the case of the Molten Chasm set of items, if I select Move this wall, I can use greater than or less than to choose different walls. But there's only those 3. That's all that came with it. So if you want to set this wall to a different wall, or if you just want to set using a quicker system than greater than or less than on every one, here's how you do that. Now, under the walls category, we have wall 0 to A here, which looks like this. Now it's basically the same size as this, except it's not lengthened or anything. So I'll delete that for now. Now with it selected, I'm going to hold the mouse over this wall and press S. Set the wall to that. So I can easily set all the wall types from one to another by using the set key. Once I've figured out which wall I want it to be, I press set. It applies changes the wall over to the new type of wall and keeps the length and everything. If, of course, that wall is the same type of base object. If I choose wall 02 short and set it to that, it's only half a wall, so it's only going to do that. It will replace it, and if that's what you want, that's fine. That can save you some time, so keep that in mind. I also want to cover, in case you've been wondering, these objects here, these colored walls. These are visibility boundary markers. So basically, and I'm going to show you a new feature, pressing home will select a section. That's the size of one section there. When you press home on a section, you'll see the stats of that section up here. Section stats. Visibility is 9 from 0, non-PvP, no marks allowed. The music is song danger 4. So out here, home shows me the visibility is 0 from 0. And I'll show you what from means later. This essentially means that you can't see one visibility area from another visibility area. So when you're standing in the dungeon here in visibility area 9, you can't see visibility area 0. So this will just appear black. It won't render the ground here. That comes in, of course, very handy when you have dungeons that are near each other, or like this, for example. This is the inside of a house. Visibility of this, the visibility value is 7, so you can't see 0 out here. You wouldn't want to see dirt outside the house anyway. You don't want the player seeing that and wondering if they can walk out there. There are also visibility markers, boundary markers at the edge of the map here. Now these are basically markers that show you where the edge of a submap is. You can follow them around and see how large a submap is. All the stuff I've been designing so far, dungeon-wise in the game, is right over here. The submaps can be made visible with the map key F2. By pressing F2, it shows you an overhead view of the map, just this one submap, and anywhere you click, that's where you go. I am directly above the spot I clicked. Now, if you want to go to a different spot in the world, you press Shift F2, and it brings up the world map with each submap as one of these numbers. Currently, they just go up to 32. They can go higher in the future. That's just where they are now. We've been designing so far on map 25 here. Semmel, in the area that you know of if you've played the game, is generally on map 1 here. Now I'm going to go and click on map 26, next dungeon over. There's nothing here. I haven't designed any of this yet. I can go to the edge and see the markers, but that's all that's here. Press Shift F2 again. Go back to map 25. Puts me in the center of map 25. Now the M key, M as in marker, will make markers display or go away. Just toggles them on and off. There may be times when you don't want to see them during design. It can easily happen. It also turns on and off, turns on and off particle generator markers. So here, this pointer is the particle generator marker, which is required if you need to select the particle generator marker and then move it around or delete it or whatever. Okay, now I need to cover a little bit about placing light sources in these scenes. A light source is very high overhead for any graphics engine, so you want to use them sparingly. Now, here we have a candle. Place that. Now this candle has a light source. And if you place enough of these, you're going to create too many light sources, and the player is going to have a pretty serious frame rate hit. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to select these, get rid of them. That's fine. And so what you want to do, if you wanted to have a table with several candles on it, that's fine. Just don't have all of them with light sources. So notice the little NL here. that's going to be a candle with no light source. So essentially you'd put one light source in the middle of all those, here. Then your scene doesn't get dragged down, and you can have multiple candles if that's what you want to do. It's very important to keep that in mind. You don't want to place too many light sources in a scene, or the player will get a pretty serious frame rate hit eventually. I mean, you can have 5 or 6 without any problem, but you go really high and they'll start to get a really low frame rate. In order to see the stats of a given section, you use the home key. As I showed you before, you just press home and it shows you up here, section stats, visibility 9 from 0, non-PvP, blah blah blah. So if you want to change that stuff, I currently have that set as F5. So for example, I will go home here and here. Now I'm controlling from the upper left hand corner to the lower right hand corner here all of the stats of these sections. Press F5, they come up. Visibility value is 9. It's showing you the current home position visibility value. I can change that to 55. The from value I'll show you in a second. And then you can choose the song. Now when you first choose this, it'll actually play it here for you in the World Designer so you can see what it's going to be. When you choose OK, it turns it off so you don't have to sit there listening to the music. I'm going to go F5 again. And obviously you can control here, allow a PvP, is a markable section for creating portals. And then I have several bits available for future expansion. Now the from value isn't something you'll have to worry about right now, but is used for secret areas and to determine if the player can see from one area to another before a secret wall has been opened. Here, for example, if I go home, you'll see that this is visibility 2 from 0, and this one is visibility 3 from 2. So this wall here will drop down, if you've played the game, when you hit this switch on the wall right there. When it does that, the game engine knows that you can now see 2 sections because you've dropped the wall between them and the next section over has been revealed. Okay, let's talk about particle emitters. Particle emitter category here. There's quite a few different types of them. And again, some of them have light sources and some of them don't, because you don't want to put too many light sources in the scene. So let's put in smoke large, for example. Drop it in. The particle emitter has a marker object. You can see at the bottom. This doesn't, of course, render in the game, but you need it here so that you can select it and move it around. You can spin this. It doesn't do much good here, but if I tilt it, I'm shooting the smoke in a different area. You can shoot the smoke in whatever direction you want. Let's get rid of that. Let's take a look at now foam water and things like that is for rivers and waterfalls, which I will get more into later when I actually start adding those. So let's place a particle spinning blue stars. So I'm going to put that right here. Now, spinning blue stars, it has no thickness to it yet. So by turning this, you can see the value here. The data value is 168 and 0. So these spinning blue stars, which aren't spinning yet, are at a range of 168 away from the particle generator spot. So if I use E and R to start spinning them, they will start moving. The higher the number, the faster they spin. To control the direction of spin, an odd number here will spin one way. Whoops, no, that's just speed. An odd or even number on the first one, Q and W, will spin them in a different direction. So it's just the easiest way I found with just 2 data values to control 3 different things about the object. I'm going to get rid of that. Just take a look at some of the other stuff. Exploding green stars. the data value here controls how much of an explosion there is. If I put it real low, they don't explode very fast. If I put it really high, up to 248, they explode a lot more. The other data value controls the size of the exploding star. The direction of the arrow is irrelevant here. It changes, but it's really just controlling the size of the stars. You can play around with these and see all the different things you can do. Fire emitter, random. Occasionally shoots out fire. Let me get rid of this here. And that might be useful in certain situations. Now I did use that here at the front entrance. These statues have a particle emitter randomly shooting smoke. So sometimes it'll shoot smoke out of their mouths. It's pretty straightforward. I guess that about covers it for this video.